quake storm in southern Japan. More than 900 earthquakes in just 2 weeks, and they're still not stopping.
Well, the remote Tokara Island chain has been shaken non-stop since the 21st of June. The latest, a 5.5 magnitude quake hit on Wednesday afternoon, triggering an emergency press briefing by Japan's weather agency.
Officials say they don't know when this will end, and for residents, that uncertainty is the scariest part. One resident said it feels like it's always shaking and it's very scary to even fall asleep. Others say they're considering evacuation, especially for their children. These islands, located south of Kyushu Island, are home to just 700 people, but 7 out of 12 islands are inhabited.
A similar episode unfolded in September 2023, but this time the activity is far more intense. Japan sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, a global hotspot for seismic activity. On average, Japan faces 1,500 earthquakes every year, accounting for 18% of the world's total.
Access Asia, I'm Yuka Huaye, and these are our main stories this week. A manga published in the 90s is scaring tourists off Japan. So what does it say, and why are people taking it seriously? Tourists from Hong Kong and China have been cancelling their trips to Japan en masse lately. And at the heart of the phenomenon that's starting to have a real impact on the tourism industry is a manga published a quarter of a century ago. France 24's Jennifer Ben-Brahim has been looking at this. Jenny, what is this all about?
Well, this is all to do with a manga that was published in 1999 called The Future I Saw. And now this predicted that a natural disaster will take place this summer. Now, this summer. And it has really, of course, as you can imagine, spawned a lot of attention online and has spawned more than 1,400 videos on YouTube perpetuating this so-called prediction. And it's been viewed in total more than 1 million times. Now, on top of that, the famous Feng Shui master Qi Xianyu's Year of a Snake prediction warned that 2025 would be marked by natural disasters, aviation accidents, and specifically to avoid the northeast, which for those in Hong Kong is Japan. Now, the cherry on top of all of this was a post by the Chinese embassy this April telling its citizens visiting or living in Japan to be prepared for any possible natural disaster. So putting all this together has, of course, led to Chinese and Hong Kong tourists who are some of Japan's top visitors no longer wanting to travel to the country this summer for their holidays, and certain airlines have even reduced services to the country, the whopping 83% drop in bookings between late June and early July, which is around the predicted dates, according to the manga. Now, this is really messing up with Japan's tourism industry that has really been enjoying a boom since the COVID-19 pandemic. And just to give you some idea of the numbers, a record-breaking 10.5 million people visited Japan in the first 3 months of this year.
Amazing story. So what does this comic book actually predict?
So this first edition from the 90s by Ryo Tatsuki was a sort of diary of these prophetic visions that she was having whilst asleep, and she was predicting disasters, other world events. Now, on the original cover, she refers to a great disaster occurring in March 2011, and that was actually the date that Japan experienced a deadly earthquake and tsunami. And if you remember, more than...
So the dream prediction coming true.
Yes, it came true. Now, more than 18,000 people were killed in northeast Japan back in 2011, and it triggered a meltdown at the Fukushima nuclear plant. Now, despite retiring as a mangaka, she was actually forced to break her 2-decade silence, and that's after an imposter gave media interviews spreading these falsehoods in her name. So she published a new version in 2021 containing additional material, which is where she predicted this disaster set to take place on the 5th of July this very year. Now, and she even said that it would be a seismic event with waves 3 times taller than the 2011 tsunami, which is terrifying to think about. An additional page also shows the location of 2 dragon-like shadows under the sea moving towards an epicenter. Now, the republished version has sold a record 1 million copies, so no wonder we're seeing really this proliferation of these doomsday prophecies online.
Now, despite those predictions, in recent interviews, the author Ryo Tatsuki has called on people not to take her predictions literally, but fear of earthquakes runs deep in that region, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's for sure. So Japanese authorities are trying to do damage control in the face of these mounting fears and speculations. At a press conference last month, the governor of the earthquake-prone Miyagi province slammed the influence of these superstitious, beliefs on travel and to not read too much into unscientific rumors.